What is going on, party people? I'm Justin Taylor, and I do not use Robinhood, but I do have a Robinhood account which has one free share of GoPro in it, currently worth about $3.50 at the moment. And for that reason, I receive Robinhood's snack emails, which is basically like their weekly email digest. I don't think I've ever paid attention to these emails before, but I got one a couple days ago with the subject line, Mo money, mo debt. And not only did I like the brief topic presented in this email because I found it interesting, but I also liked how it was delivered, quick and to the point, in a nice snackable fashion. Something I could snack on really quickly. It was real snackalicious. Anyways, that short form content inspired me to try to make a quick and concise piece of content myself, so I'm gonna try to keep this video around 2 minutes. Actually, true to Peter McKinnon, I'm even gonna put a 2-minute timer on the screen. Let's see if I can do it. All right, the topic is how much national debt is too much? On your mark, get set. The government is handing out all kinds of money at the moment, as they should. The economy is definitely going through a slump, and the federal government needs to take steps in order to try to turn things around, or at least prevent things from getting horribly worse. It started with last month's $2 trillion stimulus package, which gave $900 billion to 90% of Americans in the form of $1,200 stimulus checks, $500 billion to support corporate bailouts, $350 billion to support small businesses in the form of loans, and the remainder $250 billion going to local and state governments. Specifically looking at the $350 billion that was supposed to go to small businesses, I say supposed to because it turns out that a lot of that money didn't necessarily end up fully in the hands of small businesses, but regardless, that $350 billion went quickly, like real quick. And as a result, Congress has now just approved the Paycheck Protection Program, or the PPP, which will give an additional $321 billion to small businesses if they keep their workers employed. And this is not to mention all the other stimulus plans that are on the table at the moment, including the one that would give us all $2,000 a month as well as free rent. So knowing that the money being used to fund these stimulus plans will be added to the budget deficit, it begs the question, how much debt is too much? Our national debt is almost $25 trillion, and this year alone, the government expects to add $3.7 trillion on top of that. A large part of this debt is created by the US offering IOUs in the form of treasury securities, but the majority of our debt is owned by foreign governments like China, which I've said a few times, but I feel like I have to say it again, maybe the new leader in our global economy by the time we come out of this pandemic. But as large as it is, the amount of national debt isn't necessarily all that bad. US debt is seen as a relatively safe investment. Borrowers are confident that America will pay them back thanks to our high economic power and high credit rating. By taking on more and more debt, the government is able to fund things like, stimulus plans and other government spending aimed at trying to save our economy. The best way to calculate how good or bad our level of debt is by comparing it to our GDP by using the Debt-to-GDP Ratio, a ratio that determines a country's ability to pay off its debt based on how much money that country is bringing in. There's not a specific number that our Debt-to-GDP ratio should be at, but many economists believe that anything above 90% would be bad. And right now, we're currently at 110%. If our GDP is down for another quarter, we'll officially be in a recession. And as the pandemic continues to drop our GDP and our debt continues to rise, our debt to GDP ratio will increase. At its worst, this debt could lead to inflation, higher taxes, an even greater slowdown in the US economy, and a decline in the amount of trust in the US dollar. It's unlikely that our national debt will ever be paid off, but there's no sign that US debt levels indicate any risk of default, and historically low interest rates show that investors still have confidence in our economy. So as concerning as the amount of debt is and how fast it's climbing at the moment, we should be able to handle adding more to the deficit, and hopefully that money that's being added to our national debt in the form of stimulus money will provide more short-term gain than long-term harm. All right, I think I went past the 2-minute mark, but how was that for some snack-sized content? My YouTube analytics tells me that my average viewer retention is like 3 minutes. So if you made it this far, do me a favor, thumbs up, subscribe. Until next time, peace.